So I finally get to meet the courier who's accomplished so much in so little time. That's why I summoned you here, right? I mean, a man nearly kills you, and your response is to track him across the breadth of the Mojave? You visit the tops, and next thing you know, the head of the chairman is fleeing the strip like a whimpering little pup. When you set your mind to something, you get results. I like that. The question is, are you ready to get started? I have eyes and ears everywhere. It behooves me not to invade the West blind and deaf. It hasn't been hard to track your progress. It's not as though you've been keeping a low profile. The time is fast approaching when my Legion will assault the Great Dam and invade the West. Before that happens, I want Mr. House knocked out of the game. A quick 1-2 punch, with you doing the punching. Benny is my prisoner. You don't deal with him unless you've dealt with me. Don't worry. You'll get the platinum chip he was carrying, and then you'll use it like I tell you to. Down the hill, at the west edge of camp, is an old building. It was here when the fort was taken in 2277. Inside the building is a hatch, and inside that hatch are 2 steel doors that bear the sigil of the Lucky 38 Casino. Now that same sigil is on the platinum chip Benny was carrying when we captured him. Isn't that interesting? Even more interesting, there's a slot about the same size as the chip on the console that opens the hatch. So you know what I think? I think the platinum chip opens those doors. Doors that can't be pried open, or drilled open, or blasted open. Because all that, I tried. Benny's theory, if I understood it through all the screaming, was that Mr. House stashed some kind of ultimate weapon down there. A gigantic robot to stomp us all to death. Who cares? Whatever it is, House built it. So I want it destroyed. I wouldn't trust Benny to lick my boots clean. This one falls to you. Yes, but then I'd have to kill them. You don't get it, do you? The weapons I wield are forged from blood, flesh, sinew, bone. Mortal stuff. Fragile, even. And yet my Legion obeys me even unto death. Why? Because they live to serve the greater good, and they know of no alternatives. House's machines, his technologies. What do they propose? The possibility of victory without sacrifice. No blood spilled, just rivets. That's not an idea to be put in circulation. If mankind's going to survive this moment in history, it needs warriors, not gadgets. I want you to destroy whatever you find in there, and then I want you to come back here and tell me about it. So go to the building and take this fucking platinum chip with you. My legionaries will meet you there, with your weapons and equipment. Talk to Benny on your way out. He knows I'm going to let you decide how he dies. Maybe you want to remind him. I felt the ground shake a while ago. I'll take that as a sign you've got the job done. There are rewards for doing as I command. Today, your reward is vengeance. You get to decide how Benny dies. Go to Benny. Let him know what you've decided. My Praetorians will perform the execution, unless you want to perform it yourself. Consider it the first of many bestowments. I'm sure you found Benny's demise pleasing. The destruction of an enemy? There are few things more satisfying. Let's press on, shall we? As I was telling you before, I want Mr. House out of the picture. You have an interest in his death, too. If he knows that you destroyed his gadgets beneath the fort, he will strike back. You know where to find him. How he dies, I leave up to you. What did you want to know? My Praetorians embody the martial ideals of my Legion. Each one of them has done enough conquering and killing to deserve the rank of Centurion. Instead, I invited them to join my guard. So the invitee chooses whichever current guard he thinks is weakest and challenges him. The fight is to the death. It keeps them from getting complacent. Lucius has been the head of my guard for 5 years now. He was a subordinate guard for 8 before that. No invitee has dared to challenge him yet. Maybe it's an issue of respect. He is getting on in years. What else did you want to know? Vulpes is the best of my Frumentari, a remarkable individual from an unremarkable tribe south of the Utah. He was brought into the Legion as a boy, survived training, fought well enough as a legionary to be promoted to the rank of Decanus. Then in battle against an unimportant tribe, he broke ranks and led his contubernium through a hole in their defenses to capture its chieftain. Well, his Centurion wanted him crucified for disobedience, so I made him a Frumentari. Whatever I require, infiltration, assassination, dramatic atrocities to break the spirit of the enemy, etc. They're mentally flexible. They operate behind enemy lines for extended periods, imitating the enemy's customs without becoming sullied. In all these things, Vulpes is a master. What else did you want to know? Linnaeus is the greatest of my battlefield commanders. Some might call him a great man, but I'm not sure he qualifies. Once, he was the greatest warrior of the Hydebarks, a tribe of the Arizona. Maniacal in battle. Sometimes he'd ambush Legion patrols by himself. When after several months we found and surrounded the Hydebarks camp, their chieftain raised a banner of surrender. The warrior, who was not yet Linnaeus, went insane with rage. He struck down his chieftain and attacked his own tribe. He killed 15 before they brought him down. He didn't die, obviously. I had him tended to. He was maimed, most of his face torn off. It was days before he regained consciousness. When he did, I went to his bedside and showed him the helmet I'd had forged to cover his face. I said he could have it if he'd fight for me. He accepted, on condition that he be allowed to kill the surviving males of his tribe. I said, make it the adult males, and you have a deal. Linnaeus is savage. Savagely loyal, too, but only to me. He has no love for my legion. But this has its uses. He has no attachment to his men, no compunction about battlefield losses. All he cares about is destroying the enemy. When another legatus or a centurion fails to achieve results, I send Linnaeus to make things right. His first step is to beat the failed commander to death in front of his assembled troops. Then he orders the ritual of decimatio. It means decimation, but in ancient Rome the word had a very specific meaning, a punishment for cowardice. The legionaries are lined up in ranks. Every 10th man steps forward and is beaten to death by his brothers. It instills a certain robust obedience. Yes, this time my legionaries will be more frightened of the commander behind them than the enemy before them. There will be no failure this time, no retreat, no years of gathering slaves and resources for another assault. With Linnaeus to drive the legion forward, the dam will be taken. It will be our bridgehead across the Colorado. It's not going to happen again. That's all I have to say about it. And I've heard it's a bad idea to tempt the wrath of Caesar. Change the subject. What else did you want to know? I'll hand it to that piece of shit. He was determined. He used some kind of old-world stealth device to get across the river in a Legion boat. Seems the device ran out of juice once he got here, but he was dressed like a legionary. He was caught just outside the weather station. See, thing is, he didn't change his hairstyle. To go to all that effort and fail because you're too vain to muss your hair. He was brought before me along with the platinum chip. That's how I knew he wasn't some kind of profligate infiltrator. Benny tried to sell me a story, but Lucius has a way of coaxing the truth out of captives. Everything just comes spilling out. What else did you want to know? Do you want my opinion as a former citizen or future conqueror? Actually, my opinion's the same either way. As a young man, I was taught to venerate President Tandy of Shady Sands, the founding mother of the new California Republic. Did you know her presidency lasted 52 years? And that her father, Aradesh, was the Republic's first president? Does that sound like a democracy to you? Or a hereditary dictatorship? Because the council didn't dare oppose her. She was too popular. She had the people's love. So things ran smoothly, more or less. And as soon as she was gone, as soon as there really could be democracy, what happened then? Ever since losing its queen, the NCR has been weaker, more diffuse. Democracy has been its weakness, not its strength. Greed runs rampant. The government is corrupt, accepting bribes from Brahmin barons and landowners to the detriment of citizens. The NCR is a loose conglomerate of individuals looking out for themselves. It's lost virtue. No one cares about the collective, the greater good. It's not built to last. I'm just hastening the inevitable. Of course, the most powerful my legion has faced. Also the first to which I am ideologically opposed. Until now, every tribe I've conquered has been so backwards and stunted, enslavement has been a gift bestowed upon them. My conquest of the Mojave will be a glorious triumph, marking the transition of the Legion from a basically nomadic tribe to a genuine empire. Just as my namesake campaigned in Gaul before he crossed the Rubicon, so have I campaigned and will cross the Colorado. What else did you want to know? I know he's a coward, hiding behind an army of robots ensconced in that tower of his like a wizard in one of those Grognak comic books. Some say he's a man, others a machine. I don't care. He's in the way. I've analyzed the region's tribe to determine how they might be useful. I may tell you more at a later time, if it suits me. Ironically, I was born a profligate myself, a citizen of the NCR. My family lived not far from the Great Boneyard. After raiders killed my father, my mother sought the followers' protection. I was 2 years old. She found work at their library, cooking and cleaning. I learned how to read, and soon I was taking courses, free of charge. Oh yes, raised in that tradition. And the teaching stuck. I was taught it was my responsibility to bring the torch of knowledge to the wastes. I may have taken the torch part more literally than they intended. When I was 20, the followers sent me east to Grand Canyon. It was my first expedition. Just me and a physician named Calhoun. As an anthropologist and linguist, my assignment was to learn the dialects of the Grand Canyon tribes. What a fucking waste of time. If you think it's worthwhile to make smart people learn how to talk like backward savages, you're a follower of the apocalypse, or an idiot. Anyway, we met up with a Mormon missionary who already knew a bunch of dialects, Joshua Graham. He was supposed to teach me, but before that went too far, the Blackfoot tribe captured us to hold us for ransom. They were a backward bunch, but the real problem was they didn't know how to fight. The Blackfoot were at war with 7 other tribes, each just as pissant as they were. But outnumbered like that, they weren't going to last long. It's one thing to be taken hostage, another to be lashed to a sinking ship. So over Calhoun's objections, I decided to take certain steps. I taught them how to use the guns they already had, how to strip and clean them, how to breathe when pulling a trigger, how to reload ammunition. They looked at me like I was some kind of a sorcerer. So I taught them how to make explosives and started drilling them on small unit tactics. If there's anything I learned as a follower of the apocalypse, it's that there's a lot of good information in old books. Divide et impera, divide and conquer. I led the Blackfoot against the Ridgers, their weakest enemy. When they refused to surrender, I ordered every man, woman, and child killed. When next we surrounded the Kaibabs, and they likewise refused, I took one of their envoys to the Ridgers' village and showed him the corpse piles. This was new for the tribes, you see. They played at war, raiding each other, a little rape and pillage here, a little ransoming there. I showed them total warfare. Like I said, there's a lot you can learn from old books. Kaibabs joined me, and the Fredonians after that. All the pissant tribes with names that should be forgotten. I knew from the start I'd need to eradicate this plague of tribal identities, replacing them with a monolithic culture, a uniform identity. So that's what I did once my confederation of tribes was large enough. I crowned myself Caesar and created a single great tribe, my legion. I sent Calhoun, the follower captured with me, back west with a message that I should not be interfered with. Joshua Graham, the Mormon interpreter, stayed with me and served as my first legatus. That's right. Decades of warfare, absorbing lesser tribes, gathering power, forging the dross into a vast, razor-sharp scythe. My legion's expansion has never ceased. Much of the Utah and Colorado and all of Arizona and New Mexico are mine. We have cities of our own, but nothing compared to Vegas. Finally, my legion will have its Rome. I used Imperial Rome as the model for my legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. I'd seen what had become of the NCR's attempts to emulate the culture of pre-war America, the infighting, the corruption. Rome was a highly militarized autocracy that effectively integrated the foreign cultures it conquered. It dedicated its citizens to something higher than themselves, to the idea of Rome itself. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world, a society that could and would survive, a society that could prevent mankind from fracturing and destroying itself in this new world by establishing a new Pax Romana. It means a nationalist, imperialist, totalitarian, homogenous culture that obliterates the identity of every group it conquers. Long-term stability at all costs. The individual has no value beyond his utility to the state, whether as an instrument of war or production. No, I'll destroy it because it's inevitable that it be destroyed. It's Hegelian dialectics, not personal animosity. How do I put this basically enough? It's a philosophical theory, the kind you might encounter if you took time to read some books. The fundamental premise is to envision history as a sequence of dialectical conflicts. Each dialectic begins with a proposition, a thesis, which inherently contains or creates its opposite, an antithesis. Thesis and antithesis. The conflict is inevitable, but the resolution of the conflict yields something new, a synthesis, eliminating the flaws in each, leaving behind common elements and ideas. The bombs wiped the slate clean. Human civilization descended to a level of ignorance that effectively set our cultural progress back to zero. The NCR has all the problems of the ancient Roman Republic: extreme bureaucracy, corruption, extensive senatorial infighting. Just as with the ancient Republic, it is natural that a military force should conquer and transform the NCR into a military dictatorship. Thesis and antithesis. The Colorado River is my Rubicon. The NCR Council will be eradicated. But the new synthesis will change the Legion as well. From a basically nomadic army to a standing military force that protects its citizens and the power of its dictator. It's called an autodoc. As the name suggests, it's an automated physician, more or less. He can treat broken bones, cuts, punctures, scrapes. Sometimes I bestow its use upon someone I favor. Makes for a powerful gift in a culture that forbids painkillers and is largely ignorant of medical science. Good. Don't know what kind of security he has inside the Lucky 38, but if you can find a way of catching him off guard, do so. I've read Mr. House's obituary. Had a high opinion of himself, didn't he? With Mr. House out of the way, I can focus on smoothing out a few lingering complications elsewhere in the Mojave. First up are the Boomers of Nellis Air Force Base, a tribe so reclusive it lobs artillery shells at anyone who comes near their settlement. I want you to offer them an alliance with my Legion. My terms are simple. Target their guns against the NCR side of the dam when I assault it, and they can keep their freedom. If you find they aren't amenable to this offer, destroy them. Even with the Boomers to deal with, you have questions? The Boomers settled at the old air base northeast of Vegas many years ago. No one knows exactly how long it's been. It may be that no one's traded with them or even spoken to them that entire time. If so, they're sitting on one hell of a stockpile of ammunition. My scouts have seen people moving around the base. The perimeter's guarded, with spotters and towers directing the artillery fire. They must have extraordinary vision. Some of my scouts were targeted at extreme distances. So no, I can't tell you what to expect inside the base. No one's been inside it, except them. What else did you want to know? I know he's dead. I know he's no longer a factor. That's all I need to know. Losers don't matter in the history books. He's a fucking footnote. What else, then? Good. Your first challenge will be to reach their settlement without getting blown up. After that, should be easy. Have you brought news of the Boomers? Good. Make sure they help the Legion when the time comes. As for your next assignment, I want you to forge an alliance between Caesar's Legion and the White Glove Society. They used to be cannibals. I expect that information can be used to manipulate them. Go to... Oh, God damn it! Never this bad before. Fuck this! I'm going to lie down. Come back later. Tomorrow! The last time we met, I believe we were talking about the White Glove Society. I appreciate your concern, but I'm in excellent health, and we have other matters to discuss. Have you been successful in your efforts to recruit the White Glove Society? Then get to it. Have you been successful in your efforts to recruit the White Glove Society? Even with the White Glove Society to deal with, you have questions? There were tales once of a cannibal tribe near Vegas, one that hid itself in a cavern far below ground, hunting men as prey above. The scouts I occasionally sent west many years ago reported these tales, but never had contact. Well, except the ones who went missing, perhaps. There are rumors that the White Gloves might be this lost tribe. Maybe you can help them find themselves. Culture is an odd thing. Sometimes a tribe grows tired of its identity, grabs for an opportunity to reimagine itself. The tribe becomes its own antithesis. Everything flips to the opposite polarity. Dialectics tells us that this can't last. There has to be a synthesis, the final sorting out. Have you been successful in your efforts to recruit the White Glove Society? Good. It will be valuable to have allies on the Strip when Hoover Dam is taken. Now, as for your next assignment, I want you to destroy the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. It's not a full-strength chapter, mind you. The profligates... Huh? Yeah. Yeah. The Brotherhood. Them. I don't know. There have been a couple. Don't. But just leave it alone. I'm fine. Now, what was I saying? Right. Look for the Brotherhood's bunker around, Hidden Valley. My scouts saw some things. I'm going to bed. We'll talk later. Has the Brotherhood been destroyed? If I say the Brotherhood should be destroyed, it's necessary. My Legion can win a fight against the Brotherhood of Steel, but it would be costly. Your job is to make sure there's no Brotherhood for us to fight. Even with the Brotherhood to deal with, you have questions? The worst impulses of mankind, concentrated in one insane, backward tribe. The Brotherhood seems to have formed not long after the Great Atomic War. It's hard to know. They care little for history. Some of the Brotherhood scribes we captured further east didn't even know the name of their founder, Roger Maxson. They like to pretty up their mission with trappings of chivalry. But the truth is, they're hoarders. They hoard technology. It's been 200 years, and they still have the mentality of scavengers. They say they're preserving these technologies, but for what? They have no vision. They offer no future. They're a dead end. You don't think very far ahead, do you? Sure. Their hatred of the NCR would seem to qualify them for use as proxies. But then, what do you do with them? Each paladin is quite powerful. I'd have to be convinced that present benefits outweighed future costs. A man of potential, held back by the craven political context he inhabits. You realize he was a general. The hero of the Mojave, they called him. A title he earned by extirpating lesser tribes that dared attack NCR citizens. His responses were swift and draconian. President Tandy, the founding mother, coddled hostile tribes. But her successors were less naive, so they gave Kimball free rein. And after a respectable military career, what does he do? Become a politician. But he did so by election. What better way to stunt the growth of leaders, not to mention whole cultures? A leader shouldn't have to kowtow to those who serve him. With so much energy wasted on those below, how is he ever to move forward? Had he taken the government by force, used his army to stage a coup, things would be very different. I'll just have to do it for him. It'll frighten them. If I can reach out and kill whomever I choose, then they know the only reason they're alive is I haven't tried yet. You have to understand that Kimball is a symbol. Without him, there would be no NCR occupation of the Mojave. He mustered the troops, as many as his Senate would allow, and sent them in. All the right reasons, done all the wrong ways. Any invasion by a democracy is a half measure. When Kimball dies, the NCR will recoil from the Mojave and from his legacy. By the time they recover and try to strike back, I'll be invading them. Is that so? Mark my words, you piece of shit. This is the last time you will ever refuse to perform an order I've given you. If you meant what you said, you best be on your way, and at good speed. And forget all that I could have given you. If you ever disobey me again, I will order my Praetorians to hack you to death with their machetes for my entertainment. Has the Brotherhood been destroyed? Good. 2 of my scouts have reported seeing patrols of men in power armor near Hidden Valley. begin your search there. Has the Brotherhood been destroyed? Take care of the Brotherhood. Maybe then we can have a conversation. I said take care of the Brotherhood. Then we talk. Maybe. Return to me when you've destroyed the Brotherhood of Steel. Has the Brotherhood been destroyed? Very well. This latest victory brings to a close my efforts to reshape the power balance of the Mojave. And not a minute too soon. I want you to join me in my tent. You and I are going to have a private conversation. All right, let's state the obvious. There's something wrong with me. The headaches started a couple of months ago. They weren't too bad at first, but now they come frequently and they're debilitating. For the past 2 weeks, my left leg has been dragging. It's stiffer, hard to move. And you've seen me blank out. Lucia says I stare into space, blink a few times, then keep talking like nothing happened. So what's the diagnosis? I'm not familiar with that condition. Is it treatable? Then gather those items together and hurry back to perform the operation. I don't know how long I've got. It's never had a functional diagnostic scanning module. Without that, it's useless for surgery. It's been said that the autodocs were standard equipment in the underground vaults where mankind survived when the bombs fell centuries ago. You can search the vaults, but every autodoc my Legion has run across has been stripped for parts long before we found it. Some of my scouts did report an abandoned vault near Nellis Air Force Base. Overrun by ghouls, they said. Maybe the infestation has been there long enough to keep scavengers out. Why don't you go and see? Do that, and try not to take too long. I thank you for saving my life. You're a warrior and a healer, a rare combination. I trust this payment is adequate compensation for your troubles. Now, lest we grow sentimental here, the time for battle will soon be upon us. Legatus Linnaeus draws nigh. When he arrives, my Legion will assault Hoover Dam. In the meantime, the profligates have prepared a welcome gift for us. The president of the NCR intends to visit Hoover Dam. I don't have to explain the reasoning behind my commands. I just give them, and you do them. That said, every once in a while I hear something so ignorant I have to respond. This is one of those times. The profligates' morale is in the shitter. They've occupied the Mojave for years, getting picked off one by one. They were told it'd be easy. They keep being told that victory is right around the corner, that Vegas will roll over, become the sixth state of their little union. It's President Kimball who's been telling them that. When he dies, the enormity of his lies will come crashing down, the punchline to a bad joke. That's what I like to hear. One of my Frumentaria set up camp near Hoover Dam. His name is Cato Hostilius. Go to him. He'll have further instructions. You dispatched President Kimball with real skill. Right under their noses, too. What a humiliation. My forces are in a position to assault the dam. Legatus Linnaeus has assumed command. Are you ready to go to him? To tell him to begin the assault? Good. In hoc signo Taurus vinces. Report to Legatus Linnaeus immediately. He'll brief you on the plan of battle. Come back victorious, or don't come back.